before the relentless, frantic noise of the external world and the chaotic, deeply unhealed matrix of superficial interactions dictate another moment of your day. Deliberately and intentionally stop, right here, in this fiercely protected, intensely sacred, and heavily grounded container of time. Draw a deep, anchoring breath directly into the very center of your physical being. Inhale slowly, pulling thick, restorative, ancient air past your chest, all the way down into the quietest, darkest, most hidden chambers of your root chakra and your deep subconscious. Hold it for a singular, echoing heartbeat, allowing that pure cosmic oxygen to locate the stagnant, buried energy, the hidden fears, and the exhausting psychological armor you have been unknowingly carrying in the deepest vaults of your soul. Exhale, permanently dropping a massive, suffocating boulder of suppressed trauma, unspoken anxieties, and the exhausting need to constantly protect yourself from your tired shoulders. Completely unclench your jaw, releasing the visceral, physical memory of biting your tongue when your intuition was screaming the truth about a toxic dynamic. Soften your eyes, drop your heavy shoulders, and let the physical floor entirely support your weight. You are fundamentally, undeniably safe in this space. You are fiercely recognized for your radiant, raw, entirely unfiltered essence, including the beautiful, terrifying shadows you have spent a lifetime trying to hide. We are currently standing at a staggering, intensely profound, and deeply exposing energetic intersection. The date is May 5. This is absolutely not a day for casual observation, and it is certainly not a day for playing small, ignoring your intuition, or retreating into the familiar, suffocating shadows of your old, avoidant coping mechanisms. This is a day of absolute, breathtaking, and terrifyingly beautiful psychological excavation. On this highly specific, mathematically precise point in the universe, we are being ignited by a profoundly rare, fiercely transformative astrological shift. Today, we are standing in the heavy, pregnant silence just before the storm. We are in the immediate preparation phase for Pluto, the ancient, ruthless lord of the underworld, the planet of death, rebirth, absolute power, and total psychological alchemy to station retrograde. This is not a swift, fiery transit. This is not a gentle lunar phase. This is a massive, tectonic shift deep beneath the surface of your conscious reality. When Pluto prepares to turn backward, the overwhelming energy of transformation stops focused on changing your external world and turns its piercing, unblinking, obsidian gaze directly inward. It is a literal energetic code, a massive, foundational software update for your deepest psychological blueprint being downloaded directly into your nervous system, your shadow self, and your core relational programming. It is completely, irrevocably destroying your outdated internal mechanisms for intimacy and replacing them with an empire of absolute, raw, terrifyingly naked truth. Let us deeply, courageously examine what is actually happening within your spirit as the cosmic excavator slows to a halt, demanding that you look into the abyss of your own heart. Pluto is the ruler of the unseen. It governs the secrets we keep from others, and more importantly, the secrets we desperately keep from ourselves. It rules power dynamics, control, deep-seated fears of abandonment, obsessive attachments, and the primal survival instincts that dictate how we love when we feel threatened. For a very, very long time, you have been operating in a state of exhausting emotional compartmentalization. Because of your deep, beautifully complex soul, your profound capacity to feel, and your terrifying experiences of past betrayal, you have lived in a chronic, agonizing cycle of emotional self-protection. You have taken your beautiful, entirely valid wounds, the parts of you that are terrified of being left, the parts of you that secretly want to control a situation so you cannot be hurt, the parts of you that are drawn to intensity even when it is toxic, and you have relentlessly locked them in a heavy, dark, subterranean vault in your mind. You have desperately, constantly policed your own shadow. You have felt a deep, instinctive flare of jealousy, fear, or possessiveness in a relationship only to immediately gaslight yourself, swallowing that vital, revealing emotion, convincing your mind that you are just being crazy or unhealed. You have gone to absolute war against your own subconscious defense mechanisms, trying to perform the role of the perfect, enlightened, easygoing partner while secretly vibrating with unaddressed anxiety. You have swallowed your own profound need for absolute psychological safety just to protect the fragile, superficial ecosystem of a connection that was built entirely on you hiding your deepest, darkest fears. You took your primal, vital emotional truth, your beautiful capacity for soul-merging, transformative intimacy, and you buried it under layers of polite smiles and casual texts, because someone in your past convinced you that your depth was too dark, that your need for absolute loyalty was too controlling, or that your past trauma made you damaged goods. You fell deeply, tragically, into the devastating habit of performing emotional invulnerability. You became fiercely addicted to the noble, exhausting, completely self-destructive crusade of pretending you did not have a shadow, hoping that if you ignored the monster in the basement, it would never come upstairs to ruin your relationship. You confused the absolute exhaustion of this endless, unwinnable psychological suppression with the feeling of being healed. You thought that because you were not actively crying over the past, because your nervous system was constantly working overtime to keep the vault locked, it must mean you had moved on. You mistook the suffocating, frozen numbness of emotional avoidance for genuine peace. You have been operating in a thick, heavy fog of self-betrayal, carrying the heavy chains of unacknowledged trauma, entirely convinced that if you just kept the basement door locked, you could finally secure the solid, unconditional love you so desperately craved. But as the profound, transformative energy of this May 5 preparation peaks, as Pluto grinds to a haunting, heavy halt before its retrograde journey, the heavy iron door of your subconscious vault is suddenly, violently, and beautifully being blown entirely off its hinges. This alignment is sparking a massive, irreversible, and entirely confronting spiritual excavation directly within your romantic core. It is the sudden, striking, physical realization of the sovereign alchemist who finally stops running from their own shadow and demands the absolute luxury of being loved in their entirety. You are experiencing a literal, physical shockwave of psychological clarity. The heavy, intoxicating, deeply addictive illusion that you must be perfectly light and healed to be worthy of love is shattering into a million unrecoverable pieces. You are suddenly seeing the past, the toxic power dynamics, the subconscious manipulations, and the agonizing lack of true, naked intimacy with a stark, almost blinding realism. You are looking at the ways you have subconsciously sabotaged healthy love because you are terrified of losing control, and for the very first time, you do not feel the desperate urge to shame yourself for it. You do not feel the heavy, clawing responsibility to punish yourself for the survival mechanisms that kept you alive during your darkest chapters. You are finally, deeply understanding that your vital, brilliant shadow, yes, even your most terrifying fears of abandonment, and your primal need for absolute security was never meant to be suppressed just to keep an emotionally unavailable partner comfortable. This is the absolute, permanent death of the superficial pretender within your romantic blueprint. You are finally dropping the heavy, rusted mask of false invulnerability. You are taking your immense, beautiful, terrifying Plutonian depth back from the realm of the denied. You are finally realizing that true, sovereign love requires the absolute, terrifying courage to stand completely naked, scars and shadows fully exposed, before another human being. Listen to the sound of my voice and let these words sink into the deepest, most permanent layers of your physical bones and your subconscious mind. Pluto is doing the profound work of making you whole. It is taking you by the hand, walking you down into the dark basement of your psyche, pointing at the terrifying monsters of your past trauma, and showing you that they are actually just small, wounded children who desperately need your love, not your judgment. This retrograde preparation is handing you the magnificent, obsidian sword of absolute psychological truth, demanding that you stop abandoning yourself. For so long, you have operated in a state of emotional fragmentation. This cosmic shift is stepping powerfully into your energetic field, placing its warm, heavy, incredibly steady hands firmly on your shoulders, looking you dead in the eye and whispering a profound, ultimate truth into your soul. Your shadow is not a liability. It is the raw material of your greatest power. Your demand for a partner who can handle your darkness without flinching is not an inconvenience. It is your absolute divine right. True, authentic, profoundly aligned love is not supposed to require the assassination of your complex humanity. You are currently undergoing a radical, highly accelerated psychological upgrade. You are being recalibrated to handle the intense, beautiful, heavy frequency of true, unfiltered, soul-bearing devotion. You find yourself suddenly, inexplicably repulsed by the shallow, avoidant, emotionally sterile dynamics that you used to tolerate. The idea of playing games, hiding your true feelings, or pretending to be unaffected suddenly feels profoundly insulting to your intelligence and your spirit. You are looking at the confusing, emotionally safe but ultimately hollow partners you used to accept, and you are feeling an unshakable, elevated intolerance for anything less than absolute, burning devotion backed by a willingness to traverse the underworld together. This is not you becoming difficult, this is you becoming integrated. This is you stepping into the absolute luxury of your own unapologetic depth. Do not dare to judge the past versions of yourself for the psychological armor they wore. They did the absolute best they could with the unhealed wounds of betrayal they carried. They were desperately trying to survive in a world that taught them vulnerability was a death sentence. I want you to deeply, profoundly, and entirely forgive yourself right now. I want you to let the sound of my voice be the final, absolute permission you need to completely release the heavy burden of your subconscious shame. Let your physical voice vibrate in the actual air around you. Speak it out loud with the force of an unshakable, ancient truth. I completely, entirely, and unconditionally forgive myself for hiding my shadows. I forgive myself for the survival mechanisms, the walls, and the subconscious sabotage I used to protect my fragile heart. I forgive myself for pouring my incredibly potent, transformative energy into people who were terrified of the dark. I forgive myself for believing I had to be perfectly healed to be worthy of profound love. I completely, permanently release the heavy chains of my psychological shame. I completely sever all energetic cords to the people who weaponized my vulnerability against me. I call all of my vital, brilliant, terrifyingly beautiful, and deeply complex energy back to my own body. I integrate my shadow. I reclaim my underworld. I am finally, deeply, and irrevocably open to the absolute abundance of wildly transformative, intensely passionate, and flawlessly honest love. I boldly claim my entire self. I claim my sovereign depth. I permanently claim my entirely new, integrated reality. Breathe that massive, world-altering declaration deeply into the very nucleus of your physical cells. Do not just let these profound words hover in the intellectual, superficial space of your conscious mind. Drag them down, heavily and deliberately, into your bloodstream, your muscle memory, and the ancient, echoing marrow of your bones. Feel the actual, undeniable physical shift occurring in the temperature and density of the room surrounding you right now. Feel the oxygen become incredibly thick, highly charged, intensely supportive, and shimmering with a heavy, explosive, dark, golden terrestrial light. You are actively, consciously, and irreversibly crossing the roaring, burning bridge that separates the painful, highly restricted timeline of the fragmented survivor directly from the boundless, deeply integrated timeline of the integrated, sovereign alchemist. You can feel the intense, blistering heat of the old, divided world burning to absolute ash right behind your back. You can hear the heavy structures of your past compartmentalization crashing down into the abyss, completely destroyed by the sheer force of your radical self-acceptance. But you absolutely do not turn around. You simply keep walking straight ahead, your spine perfectly straight, stepping directly into the majestic, psychologically whole reality that you have so fiercely earned. You must deeply understand and meticulously prepare your nervous system for the absolute certainty that you will be tested in the rapidly approaching coming weeks as Pluto officially begins its slow, relentless, backward march through the underworld. The universe will always send a pop quiz to ensure that your newly established psychological foundation is forged in impenetrable iron, and not just softly drawn in the shifting sand of temporary inspiration. The desperate, hungry ghosts of your old, unhealed paranoias and the lingering shadows of your past relationship traumas will inevitably try to drift back into your newly cleared, energetic field. A deeply familiar old trigger might suddenly surface out of nowhere. A visceral, paralyzing fear of abandonment might rear its ugly head in the middle of a perfectly peaceful moment, tempting you with the exhausting, familiar urge to pick up the old, heavy mask of emotional distance. Your wounded ego will scream at you to shut down entirely, to subconsciously manipulate the situation for a false sense of control, or to physically and emotionally run away before you can be left behind. Your shadow will want to see if the fearful, avoidant version of you is still running the show behind the scenes. But when this happens, and it absolutely will happen, you are going to experience the ultimate, exhilarating, deeply physical, and entirely undeniable victory of your brand new, heavily anchored frequency. You will look directly at the fear, the intense trigger, the desperate urge to hide, and you will feel absolutely nothing but a calm, elevated, completely untouchable, and profoundly grounded self-compassion. You will not run. You will stay, and you will hold your own hand through the dark. You will quietly, beautifully, elegantly, and decisively refuse to let the unhealed trauma dictate your actions, both in the physical world of your daily interactions and in the vast, interconnected quantum field of your own brilliant mind. Now, I want you to deliberately, intentionally take one final, incredibly deep and purposefully anchoring breath right in this exact, sacred, and heavily protected second. Bring your awareness entirely back into the physical realm. Place both of your warm, highly capable, and incredibly healing hands firmly and deliberately over your lower abdomen. This is not just a physical location, it is the absolute, undeniable seat of your primal power, the ancient wellspring of your deep intuition, and the fiercely protective home of your most vital survival instincts. Press down gently but firmly against your own skin, consciously reminding yourself that you are physically here, permanently occupying this magnificent, resilient human vessel, and completely, unconditionally safe in the reality of this present moment. Close your heavy, desperately tired eyes, block out the blinding, chaotic illusions of the external world. Feel the steady, ancient, entirely reliable, and beautifully rhythmic pulse of your own massive, fully integrated life force thumping steadily beneath the warmth of your palms. That undeniable physical sensation, that rhythmic drumbeat of your own heart, is the ultimate, living proof that you survived absolutely everything that was designed to break your spirit. Everything you have experienced in this entire lifetime, up until this exact, precise moment, every single bitter tear you cried in devastating isolation, every agonizing betrayal that violently ripped your fragile trust apart, every exhausting, repetitive, and agonizing attempt to shrink yourself or hide your true, wonderfully complex self from a world that could not handle your depth, was absolutely not a random cosmic punishment. It was merely the turbulent, deeply necessary, expertly designed, and profoundly purposeful cosmic bridge required to get you exactly here, to this very breath, to this profound, undeniable, and permanent realization of your staggering, limitless, psychological power to finally turn around and face the terrifying beauty of your own darkness. If these specific, highly charged, and deeply exposing words have successfully managed to bypass the heavy, anxious, and relentlessly overthinking patterns of your logical mind today, if this transmission has spoken directly, intimately, and flawlessly to the deep, ancient, unshakable, and entirely wild wisdom of your eternal spirit, I implore you, do not let this wildly powerful, underworld-shifting energetic window close without firmly and consciously claiming it as your own. Like this exact message right now. Do not do it, just out of an unconscious, modern scrolling habit, mindlessly tapping a glowing screen as you dissociate from your reality. Instead, let the very physical, tangible, deliberate, and intentional action of pressing that button be a heavily grounded, silent, and completely unbreakable signature on your brand new, completely upgraded contract with the limitless cosmos. Let that tiny movement of your physical finger be the undeniable manifestation of your internal tectonic shift. It is you firmly, bravely, and physically declaring to the vast, listening universe that you are finally, irrevocably, and permanently ready to stop running from the terrifying depths of your own soul. It is you boldly stepping out of the shadows, dropping the heavy armor of avoidance, and fully opening your exhausted arms to receive absolute, transformative, and unimaginably profound abundance. Do not keep this profound, world-altering awakening locked away inside the silent, echoing chambers of your own mind. The universe demands that you speak it into existence. Share your profound journey, your massive shadow work, and your incredibly deep, brilliant, psychological realizations in the comments section below. Declare your brand new, unapologetic standard of intimacy for the entire world to witness. Use your actual, specific, unfiltered, and deeply visceral words to carve out the boundaries of your new kingdom. Tell the infinite universe exactly what kind of superficial, emotionally avoidant, entirely half-hearted dynamics you are absolutely no longer available to tolerate in your sacred space. Outline exactly, with crystal-clear precision, what kind of fierce, soul-merging, profoundly honest love you are actively calling into your newly cleared orbit. Let your physically typed words act as an unbreakable, heavy, dark, golden, energetic anchor plunging straight into the material plane. You must deeply understand that your specific story, your exact bleeding words of raw psychological liberation, and your terrifyingly beautiful vulnerability might be the precise, exact vibrational key that someone else in this rapidly elevating community desperately needs to encounter today. Your public declaration might be the exact spark they require to finally stop running from their own beautiful darkness. Subscribe to this exact frequency of absolute, unapologetic relational sovereignty and massive psychological integration. Keep your beautiful, fiercely resilient spirit strictly and beautifully tethered to this highly elevated, deeply grounded vibration as we continue to actively, bravely and consciously navigate these massive, underworld-shifting cosmic waves together in the transformative months to come. Now, take one more intentional, wildly expansive, lungs-filling breath. Fill your entire, magnificent human vessel with the vibrant, luxurious, deeply rooted, golden energy of your completely unapologetic, passionately alive, brand new beginning. Exhale the thin, pathetic, desperately tired echoes of your past shame and subconscious guilt, blowing them completely away into the infinite cosmic void, where they can never touch you again. You are profoundly, incredibly, and undeniably safe to be deeply complex. You are miraculously safe to embody both the light and the dark. The suffocating, punishing era of hiding your shadows is permanently, entirely over. The toxic illusion of the perfectly healed, one-dimensional partner is dead. The expansive, abundantly passionate, and fiercely protected reality of your authentic, integrated love life is finally, beautifully here. Welcome home, beautiful, vast soul, to the magnificent, undeniable, and world-altering magnitude of your own sovereign depth.